What's up, guys? It's your boy Zowoki back out with another Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger video. Now, from the criminal mindset, which I've watched a few videos here and there, we are going to be watching another video that you guys sent me in my Facebook and Instagram. A lot of you guys have been sending it. Chris Watts finally exposes Nichol Kessinger. The dark secrets revealed. That's some big bridges to fill, and we're going to see if this is legit. So grab a chair, get comfortable, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting that white bar icon that says subscribe. Hit the bell icon that's next to it, so when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that I've posted that video, and then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, thank you so much for the love and support. Don't forget to go over to the criminal mindset, go give them some love. And I want to make this very clear, because it seems like people don't like to watch these videos entirely through the whole thing. If you don't like that we are continuing to look at the Chris Watts case, or you don't like that we are watching some reruns or not reruns, or finding little bits and pieces of dialogue and looking at body language and forensic liquid, if you don't want to see any of that, then don't watch the video. It amazes me to see that how many people will sit there and tell me not to make this video, when the last that I knew, this channel was mine. And there's about 77,000 people that enjoy this reaction channel. Again, if you want to watch, great. If you don't, the link is in the description. You don't have to watch with me. But for those that want to watch with me, let's get into it.
Or feelings, or love. Prison is too good for you. This is hard to say, but may God have mercy on your soul.
We loved you like a son. We trusted you. Your faithful wife trusted you. Your children adored you.
This is something we will never get over. We will always mourn the loss of our family. I am still struggling to understand how and why this tragedy occurred.
I don't think he will give an honest assessment of why he did what he did, how he did what he did, and I don't think that there is ever going to be a satisfactory answer for anyone.
Care.
My daddy is a hero. He helps me grow up strong.
That's why we do these videos. That's why I do these videos.
Eight years of investigators, documentaries, podcasts, and millions of people combing through the same 2,000 pages of discovery evidence. And in all of that time, across all of that scrutiny, one person walked away. She sat across from investigators.
This is why, hold on, I need to do it for the people that are in the back, because they obviously don't get it. This is why this person right here is why this case is still phenomenally in the top 5 of crime, of the worst crimes ever. Why? Because she was never actually talked to. She was only investigated or interviewed to make it look like she was being the victim. And this case will not stop. If something happens to me, aka death threats that actually happen, you can know who to look for. You can know that they wanted to silence anybody and everyone that's trying to talk about this video. There's how many people on different social media platforms, if I'm not the one that's going to talk about it, there's going to be another 2 that take my place. There are channels that are popping up everywhere about this case and centralizing on this woman because of how BS and red flagged everything is in here. But there are those people that are like, get over it, move on. There's nothing to do with this case anymore. Are you kidding me? I've seen people do less than she did and get time in prison. I've been watching body cam and crime videos for years. Again, I've seen people with less involvement in a murder case that have gotten time in prison because they were just there. Or they knew about it and didn't tell anybody. So if I ever go missing or I end up dead, you know why.
6 separate times, she answered their questions. She cried in the right places.
He's so disgusting. I'm so ashamed of him. Why? How? I don't even understand how you could, like, bring yourself to do that to somebody who's, like, that big.
She even called the police herself. And for 8 years, the world largely accepted the version of events she handed them. But here is what changed in 2026.
I don't even think she actually called the police. I think it was her dad that said, hey, I have my daughter here. She's possibly involved. We need to make a deal or something to that effect. Again, I can only say alleged because I can't say it for fact. But what other reason was her dad at the first interview at the park? You could hear him on the interview. She had her dog too. And then the second interview, Dwayne was there too. The third interview wasn't there. And then there was a phone interview that, of course, she talked about the 7-page letter that was completely bullcrap because she talked about the expiration dates about condoms.
A man who spent 7 months in the cell directly next to Chris Watts published what he says Watts told him, in private, word by word, conversation by conversation. And when you place what that man claims Chris said next to evidence that was already sitting inside the official discovery file, a picture forms that no documentary, no podcast, and no investigation has ever fully assembled in one place. Until right now, I am not going to walk you through basic timeline of August 13th.
So we already
You
know.
already know it. You've known it for years. What I am going to walk you through is what the evidence shows happened around that morning. Before it, during it, after it, and the one person whose name keeps appearing. In the phone records, in the search history, in the GPS data, in forensic reports, who has never once been made to formally answer for any of it. Stay with me.
She never had to answer about the phone ping. She never had to give her alibi because she said, leave Jim alone. She has how many hours unaccounted for? We don't know where she was from 2 o'clock in the morning when she got off the phone till 2 o'clock in the afternoon at her workplace when she clocked in and then clocked out an hour later after she got off the phone with her sex therapist. For 12 hours, we don't know where she was. But her phone pinged in Frederick, Colorado at 6:16.
Because by the time this video ends, you are not going to be asking whether Chris Watts belongs in prison. You are going to be asking a completely different question. And it is a question that 8 years later, nobody in an official capacity has ever been forced to answer. Let me establish the foundation before we go anywhere else.
Okay.
Because this matters. Nichol Kessinger was never charged with any crime. She sat for multiple recorded interviews. She handed over her phone. In the official court record, she is classified as a witness. A woman who unknowingly fell for a married man who turned out to be a murderer. That is the official story, and that story has always had problems. Not theory problems, not Reddit speculation problems. Documented, time-stamped, forensically established problems sitting inside the public discovery record that nobody in a position of authority has ever been made to explain. Let us start with what single-handedly dismantles the entire foundation of her account to investigators. Nichol Kessinger told law enforcement, clearly, consistently, across multiple sessions, that she genuinely believed Chris Watts was nearly divorced when their relationship began. She thought the separation was already underway. She believed she was not breaking up a family because the family had already effectively ended. That was her pillar. Her entire defense of her own conduct rested on it.
So I just want to know how you met him, where you met him, how long you guys were dating, and those kind of things initially.
I met him in June.
I think I met him sometime in June, probably early June. It might have been May. It was just talking at work. It was pretty casual. And he didn't have a wedding ring on his finger. And every time I talked to him, he didn't tell me that he was in a relationship. He didn't even mention his kids right away either.
The kids were on his flippin' phone.
And then one day he told me that he had 2 kids. I was like, that's pretty cool.
So okay, hold on. So if the person tells you that they have kids, your first thought is, are you married? Are you taken? Is the mother or father in the picture? Oh, they are? And you're going to Google it. People in this time era, Google. That's why I don't know how cheaters get away with things, because like everything's Googleable. Guaranteed she Googled, because why did she Google? She Googled Shanann a year before. She knew.
And started telling me about his kid.
That sounded like a sarcastic comment.
No, I thought it was kind of cute. I was like, oh, he's a dad. It was like right around Father's Day too. So.
Oh, by the way, she sat there and said to her friend Charlotte, I think it's okay that he has kids.
Whenever that is that in June?
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm not good with holidays.
He told me he had kids, and then it was Father's Day shortly after that. So that's what I do now. And I was like, I thought it was cute. And then
what's sad is Father's Day is the 17th celebrated holiday. I can't give you 17 other holidays. I can give you like 7. And Father's Day is 17th.
He's telling me about him. He's pretty excited about him.
Mother's Day is 3rd.
And then he mentioned that he did have a significant other.
Oh.
And then he told me that those 2 were in the process of a separation.
Then why did you give him an email that says, oh, I would like to build something that would be like what you and your wife have? Why would you say wife if if they're separated? You'd say ex-wife, right?
Did he mention the children's name or his significant other's name?
I didn't know his significant other's name for a while.
That's where they insert the, oh, then why did you Google her a year before? See what she says then. Eh? I'm not even in professional law enforcement, and I could have done better than this guy did.
And then I think he
all of you guys could have done better. My kids could have done better.
Told me his kids' names pretty quick, but to be honest with you, on an exact date of when that happened, I don't know. And I just feel like some of this happened.
But you knew the exact date about expired condoms that he brought home because half a box was empty?
Happened so long ago that I can't tell you like the exact words of the exact conversation at the exact time and place, because it's like we had a lot of conversations. I mean, we talked every single day, so it's like I'm trying to help.
The only day that they did not talk was the day of the murders.
Help you guys with the stuff, like the stuff that's more current. I can give you guys a lot more like detail and exact times. But when you're asking me about something that happened 6 weeks ago and
it's not going to happen.
Exactly what was said. It's like, I mean, I'm sure I can give you a general idea, but to be honest with you, like to pinpoint exact words, it's not going to happen.
Did you ever give him like books or articles or anything to read about saving your marriage? Did you ever provide anything to him like that?
About saving his marriage?
Yeah, like how to recover a marriage or how to save your.
When she told him to go save his marriage, she was sending him pictures and inappropriate videos.
Marriage, you know, there's all sorts of publications and books out there.
No, but I did tell him, and I don't know if I did this through text or phone. That will be something you guys will, I'm sure, figure out. But I told him a few times, like, I think that you should take the time to read some articles about what separation does to kids.
Now, let us look at what her phone was actually doing. On July 24th, 2018, weeks into their relationship, she searched the following phrase on Google. Man I'm having an affair with says he'll leave his wife.
Let's look at that, shall we? Having an affair. You wouldn't be having an affair if it was separated. Okay? As Mr. Garrison says, okay? With says he will leave his wife, not ex-wife, not girlfriend, not woman, wife. Oh, I still have this up there. Whoopsie. Sorry, guys. Oh, I still got this up there. My goodness. Wife. Affair. Why would you say that you knew that they were separating?
Not man I'm dating who is separated, not man going through a divorce. Affair. Her word, her search, her phone. You do not use the word affair if you genuinely believe you are dating a man who is mutually and openly separating from his wife. That word only comes from...
Ding, ding, ding. Do we have a winner? What have they won? They should be winning some prison time.
Someone who understands they are in the middle of something that is still very much intact. That was July 24th. On August 4th, while Chris was in North Carolina on a family trip that Nichol herself later claimed she had encouraged, she spent 2 consecutive hours searching for wedding dresses online. 2 full hours. On August 8th, Chris still in North Carolina, she searched. Marrying your mistress.
Why would you say that she's separated, or Chris is separated, if you said marrying your mistress? You wouldn't be a mistress if they were separated. You'd be the next woman, the rebound, the whatever. You wouldn't be a mistress if they were separating and divorced. Ahem. But no, us people that are looking into this case and the ones that sit there and say, will you get over this? Do you not see the marrying your mistress? But no, it's over, right?
Mistress. Again, her language, her search. She knew.
The language exposes her immensely. She's a walking red flag. And some people are just like, it's done, it's over with. We don't see the Chris Watts case anymore. He's in prison. Next.
Knew exactly what she was. Now, hold those 3 searches against this single detail on that same August 4th. The same afternoon she was browsing wedding dresses, she also...
Oh, I didn't realize that she spent 45 minutes on preparing for butt booty. Or 3-ways, international or interracial 3-ways with double P. 45 minutes? Girl, you nasty mofo.
Searched both Chris and Shanann's Facebook accounts. She could see Shanann's page. She could see the pregnancy announcement Shanann had posted publicly. And in all 6 of her interviews with law enforcement, Nichol Kessinger stated clearly that she had absolutely no idea Shanann was pregnant. She said discovering the pregnancy through news coverage was one of the
I wish I could give you your firstborn son.
Most shocking moments of her life. She said that if she had known about the baby, she would never have been involved with Chris at all. She accessed Shanann's Facebook page on August 4th. The pregnancy had been publicly announced weeks before. She told investigators she had no idea. Now, I want to bring you to the data point that the district attorney's own office confirmed was real, and then never pursued. This is not a rumor. This is not online speculation. This is something Michael Rourke, the Weld County DA who prosecuted Chris Watts, confirmed on record when pressed directly by reporters. Forensic analysis of Nichol Kessinger's phone showed that she
bombshell evidence, eh?
She was searching Shanann Watts by name as early as January 2018. She told investigators her relationship with Chris did not begin until June 2018. She was searching for Shanann 5 months before she claims to have known Shanann existed. When reporters asked D. O'Rourke whether this data was real, he confirmed it. He stated it came directly from the phone. He said it was not a reporting error. And when asked why that anomaly
So if it's not a reporting error, why aren't we looking into it, sir?
It was never independently investigated, he stated that because Chris Watts pleaded guilty, the investigation did not continue to that point.
Right there. Do I need to go into it? It's literally right there. They were going to question it, but because Chris said, I did it, they're done. No, that's not how it's, nope. Nope, because a lot of DAs have come to me in messages, and if anybody ever asks, I have them ready. And if somebody thinks that they're going to come and blank me off, it's been sent to other locations. I'm not the only one that has them. So, next.
Stop there. The district attorney of Weld County confirmed on record that a key witness in a quadruple homicide had been searching the victim's name 5 months before she claims to have known the victim existed. And the official response was, "We didn't pursue it because we already had a conviction. That is what is on record."
That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. We got a conviction. There may be others involved, but we got one. So we consider that. It's like going to a football game saying you got 14 points and then being like, okay, we're done. When you still got you still got half a game to go. What?
Record. And in 2026, that anomaly sits exactly where it has always been, in the record, unresolved, unexplained. One of the most repeated defenses of Nichol Kessinger has always been this. She came herself. She called the...
She only came forward because she found out that somebody at Anadarko, what is it? Tony something? I wrote it down. Where is it? Let me keep, it's like Tony, not Tony Hawk, Todd Holland or something like that. No. Mother fudge, I had it. Let me keep reading.
Police voluntarily. She had nothing to hide. It sounds like the behavior of
nothing to hide, but deleted 3/4 of her phone.
Someone with a clear conscience. Except the sequence does not hold. On August 15th, 2018, 2 days after the murders, CBI agent Tammy Lee received a phone call at 5 in the morning from Anadarko Petroleum's security manager, Tony Husky. He informed investigators that
Tony Husky. I wasn't even close. I got the T and the H, but that was about it. Tony Husky's the one that came forward. He's the one that said, hey, please, this is what you're looking for. And she got wind of it and was like, crap, damage control. I got to make sure my name doesn't get thrown through the ringer.
Contracted employee had been exchanging suggestive messages with their primary.
But what I want to know, Tony whatever, is how did you find out?
Suspect. He gave them 2 names, Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger. Law enforcement already knew who she was. Approximately 2 hours after that call, at 9:50 a.m., Nichol Kessinger contacted investigators. She was not being courageous. She was not being transparent. She was getting ahead of something she could already feel closing in. And here is what removes any remaining doubt about that. On that exact same day, the same day she supposedly reached out to cooperate with an active murder investigation, Nichol Kessinger was searching Google for, can cops trace text messages? How long do...
How much more red flag do you need to get for those people in the back? Here you go. Here you go. You need this in the face because, oh my gosh. Nearly 2-minute conversation and showed that she was deleting evidence before she came in.
Phone companies keep text messages. What is the difference between text message content and text message detail? And then she deleted every one of those searches. A woman cooperating fully and honestly does not spend her cooperation day researching the boundaries of what law enforcement can find. That is the behavior of someone calculating what they can and cannot hide. And it was not her first round of deletion. Because on August 14th, before she had made any contact with investigators, she had already wiped her phone clean. All text messages, all photos, her contacts, her emails, everything that connected her to Chris Watts, gone. She then instructed Chris to delete everything on his end, and she told her close friend Charlotte, who had received photos of Chris from Nichol along with detailed conversations about him, to delete their entire thread as well.
Also, I found out too that her phone connected to the Wi-Fi at the Watts house.
Deleting material evidence during an active homicide investigation has a legal name. It is called obstruction of justice. It was confirmed. It was documented in the discovery record, and when investigators raised it with her directly, when Agent Kobach brought it up in her second interview, Nichol Kessinger's explanation was that she was grossed out by Chris, that she simply did not want his name appearing on her phone anymore. That answer was accepted. The conversation moved on.
Why the hell was it accepted? You're doing all this before you're going to go speak with FBI, CBI, and law enforcement? That's a huge walking red flag.
Now, I need your complete attention, because what comes next is the piece of this case that the evidence has always pointed toward, and that no official investigation ever satisfactorily confronted. Nichol Kessinger drove the same...
You guys are wondering what I'm doing. I'm writing notes for the video, because everybody's like, Zowoki, why aren't you paying attention to the video? I am paying... Excuse. I'm paying attention. I'm writing things down.
Commute to work every single day. Investigators subpoenaed months of her phone records. The cell tower data mapped that commute with total consistency. Same roads, same towers, morning after morning, predictable. Established, uniform, until the morning of August the 13th, 2018.
The only
At 6:16 a.m., on the morning the Watts family was murdered, Nichol Kessinger's phone pinged a cell tower it had never once pinged in all those months of...
The only time, this is the only thing that's wrong right now, is the only time it ever pinged was when Nichol was actually at the house. The 4th, the 3rd, or 14th, and the 18th. Yeah, there's an 18th. Nobody remembers that one. But the 18th of July, the 14th of July, and the 4th of July. Those are the 3 times besides the day of the murders at 6:16. But no, we there's nothing here.
Prior records. That tower placed her device in the proximity of one specific address. The Watts family home in Frederick, Colorado. The same address she had searched on Google less than 36 hours before. Let me give you the precise timing. Because context is everything. Chris Watts had driven away from that address at approximately 5:45 a.m. that morning. By 6:16 a.m., he was already on the highway, heading northeast toward the Survey 319.
Oh, her Forerunner too? She sold it.
Oil well site. He was not at the house. He had been gone for 30 minutes. At 6:16 a.m., while his phone pinged towers along the highway, her phone pinged a tower near his house, and she placed a call, not to Chris, to a man
Jim.
named Jim.
Or
Jim
Umento.
is not a peripheral figure in this case. Discovery records and subsequent investigative interviews established that Jim was embedded in the social world shared by Chris and Nichol. There are photographs of all three of them together at the Colorado sand dunes, one of the locations Chris and Nichol visited during their relationship.
But apparently they didn't know each other.
Days after the murders, when Detective Kobach asked Nichol whether Jim could serve as her alibi witness,
Leave Jim alone.
Whether he could confirm her location on the morning of August 13th, here is exactly what she said.
We want to show that you were never near him that day, period.
I mean, you guys
So-
can track my stuff.
No, yeah, I mean, that was something we will have to get a warrant for anyways. I'm just saying, if we asked for it, would you
Which they never did get the warrant.
have any objections to that?
No, you can have it.
So,
If I'm a pretty boring person. I don't
it sounds
go
like
too
you
many
just went
places.
to work that day and then you came home and you were there at 3:45.
Yeah, like give or
Monday.
take like 5 minutes, but yeah, so
Pretty boring person, but yet you're Googling three-ways and preparing for DP and butt stuff.
3:45. I meet Jim there. Yeah, I would
And
totally.
so Jim is understand from an investigative point, he could be a person who could say, yeah, I was there at 3:45. He doesn't know Chris. He doesn't know anything. He could say with one phone call, yeah, she came in at 3:45, done.
Totally.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't have to ask anything more than, hi, Chris, my name's Kevin, or Jim. And I'm not saying you have to give it to you.
Just leave Jim
But
alone.
if
Jim does
at
not need to be
some
wrapped
point-
up in this.
If at some point I needed Jim's info to, let's say we couldn't find your phone records, would you
You
tell
can
me who
have
Jim
them.
was?
I will give them to you.
Would you tell me who Jim was?
But she doesn't want them talking to Jim. And they didn't. They didn't talk to Jim. There's no evidence to support that they talked to Jim. They listened to her. You know how many police and detectives that said they would have talked to him right after this interview?
You had to. I don't really want to involve him in this. That is not fair to him. That's not, no. If I do not have to do that.
That's fine.
Her alibi witness, the one person who could confirm where she was on the morning her lover murdered his family. And she said it would not be fair to name him. Detective Kobach did not press her. He moved on. The question of where Nichol Kessinger was between 5:45 and 8 a.m. on August 13th, 2018, was never formally answered in any interview. It was never independently verified through any other means.
We're
And
supposed to
this,
listen to them.
across the entire run of records reviewed after August 13th, her phone never once pinged that Frederick Tower again. Not on any subsequent morning, not on any workday, not ever. Because she had no reason to be near that house after that day. Anadarko Petroleum had security cameras throughout their facility, including coverage of their parking lot, footage that could have confirmed exactly when Nichol
And she wasn't there until 2.
Kessinger arrived at work that morning, was accessible and existed. No publicly verified timestamp from that footage was ever produced. Her time card was referenced by Nichol herself in her first interview. She mentioned when she clocked out. She never mentioned when she clocked in. And no investigator ever asked. Of everything in this case, every deleted search, every unanswered question, every gap in the official record, this is the detail that stops.
Somebody told me from a interesting source that Watts' father came to eat with him. Again, I can't verify this. But apparently Chris was eating on a paper plate, which I don't believe because they eat on trays. But again, I could be wrong. And he apparently made a statement about that paper plate being the size of the hatch and wondering how it was possible to put somebody in there. I thought that was kind of odd that was said, but it was apparently on a video not too far off that was made, and I'm not watching that video. I know a lot of people have been asking me to watch it. I will not watch that video. But I'm just wondering if you guys could verify that, if that was true or not. And you probably know what video I'm talking about. And I don't want to mention names, and I don't want names mentioned in my comments. I just want the information told that if it's true or not, that Chris made a remark about the hatches being too small because he still doesn't know how the girls at the moment, or not at the moment, but before how they were murdered. The first time he said they were strangled. They were smothered. So why is Chris second guessing how this happened with the hatches? I'm just curious. If you guys know, you know, and please let me know, and please not mention any names. I just want to know if it's true or not.
Serious case researchers cold, because this one detail does not have a credible innocent explanation, and it was sitting in the discovery file the entire time. Survey 319 is the Anadarko oil well site where Chris...
Oh, and that too, which we saw, I proved it, and others, that it was supposed to be decommissioned in September, but was postponed until December. So if they put said people in batteries and it would have been destroyed, trampled on, packed down to the dirt that it is now, nobody would have ever found them. But because Nicole Atkinson and Nate, the neighbor, came forward and were determined, this plan was foiled. Survey 319 was decided and chosen for a reason, because it was going to be demolished. But we're making this up, right? No, it's all there. And they tell us to move on.
Watts drove on the morning of August 13th. It is where he buried Shanann. It is where Bella and Celeste's bodies were found inside crude oil tanks. It is the crime scene. In Nichol Kessinger's very first interview with investigators, she told them that Chris going to the oil field that morning was routine, normal field operations, nothing unusual. 6 days later, after investigators received her phone records, her account changed completely. Suddenly, she remembered an extensive conversation with Chris the night before the murders, in which she questioned him specifically about why he needed to go to Survey.
Oh, send me pictures, because I want to know why you were there.
319 first thing Monday morning. Her documented words to investigators: "That's not your job. Why would you have to go check the release? You're not part of the environmental team." She knew that site. She knew his role. She knew it was not normal. And then she disclosed something that has never received the attention it deserves. On the evening of August the 13th, hours after Chris had been at that location, she texted him asking him to send her a photograph. Photographic proof that he had been at Survey 319 that day. She asked for evidence of his presence at the crime scene on the day the crime was committed. Now, consider the full documented record of their communication. Months of daily contact, texts, calls, exchanges reviewed in detail by investigators. There is not a single other instance of Nichol Kessinger asking Chris Watts to photograph his location on any workday. Not once. Across months of records, except on the one morning he visited Survey 319. Except on the day he drove his family there. When this information came up during her interview, when Koba...
Which we've already looked at the timeline with him being out there, there is no way that he did all of that by himself.
...had that detail in front of him, he did not ask why. He did not ask what prompted a request she had never made on any other day in their entire relationship. He did not ask why Survey 319 specifically, and not any of the other locations Chris visited that same morning. He moved on. A witness in a quadruple homicide tells investigators she requested photographic proof of the primary suspect's presence at what would be confirmed as the crime scene on the day the crime was committed, and the investigator says nothing. I want to pause here for a moment, because I know how deep into this evidence we are, and I want to make sure you stay with me for what comes next. Because what I am about to walk you through in the next 3 sections is what I believe is the most damning sequence in this entire case. Not the phone ping, not the wedding dress searches, not even the Survey 319 photo request. What comes next is the documented record of what happened on the night of the murders and the calls made in the hours that followed that no official investigation ever formally confronted. Stay with me. The night of August 13th into the early hours of August 14th, between 9:48 p.m. and 2:18 a.m., the phone records show Nichol Kessinger and Chris Watts in multiple calls totaling 156 minutes, 2 hours and 36 minutes of conversation on the night of the murders. While Shanann,
where one of them were a 111-minute phone call entirely.
Bella, Celeste, and unborn Nico had been at that oil field for over 12 hours. When Detective Kobach walked Nichol through those calls, reading the timestamps, the durations, asking what was discussed, here is what she offered. I would almost want to come in there and drag and drop all of my texts to where they were going. We may need to do that here, coming early next week. She offered to come in and manually reorganize her own messages to fill the gaps she could not account for verbally. That meeting never happened. She never came back. Now, hold that against this. In those same interview sessions, Nichol provided detailed, specific, chronologically precise accounts of events from weeks and months earlier in the relationship.
But not
specific restaurants, specific dates, specific conversations she recalled with confidence and fluency.
That is true.
Her memory for July was sharp and clear. Her memory for the night of August 13th, the single most important night in the entire case, was, in her own words, fragmented. Memory works selectively when the stakes are selective. But what she did say about that night is more revealing than what she claimed she could not remember. When Kobach pressed her on why she could not sleep, why the calls kept happening through the early hours of August 14th, why she was distressed, she said this. These are her documented words. All those phone calls at the very end of the night. That was me freaking out. I can't sleep.
She was freaking out because she didn't want to get arrested.
I'm really scared. Where's your family? That was me freaking out, and him calling to try to assure me, just making sure everything was okay. I'm really scared. Where's your family? In her official account to investigators, Nichol stated that she assumed Shanann had simply gone to a friend's house. Couples argue she needed space. She would come back. That was the explanation she gave for why she was not alarmed when Chris mentioned his family was gone. But if you genuinely believe a woman has gone to cool off at a friend's house, there is nothing to be scared of. There is no reason to lose sleep. There is no reason to need reassurance at 2 a.m. that everything is okay.
I want to look at that quick. Just curious. Oh, also, she changed her password, which they were trying to get into.
Lose sleep. There is no reason to need reassurance.
Okay, we got Susan. This is the 15th. Sent friend request. I was just curious.
At 2 a.m. that everything is okay. You are only scared at 2 a.m. if you already know or strongly suspect that the situation is something entirely.
Also, Nichol Googled the address of the place the morning of the murders.
Entirely different from a couple needing space. And then came the moment that may be the single most damning detail in Nichol Kessinger's entire documented record. At 1:51 a.m. on August 14th, Nichol called Chris. At 1:58 a.m., while they were still on that call, Chris began receiving calls from the Frederick Police Department. They ended their call. Chris called the officer back at 2:05 a.m. on his work phone, and within seconds of that police call beginning, Nichol called Chris's personal phone, both calls running simultaneously, the investigating officer on the work phone, Nichol on the personal phone, at 2 a.m, while an officer was beginning to ask questions about where his family had gone. Investigators who reviewed these records noted what the sequence implies. She was listening in, monitoring in real time what the officer knew, and what he did not. She has never been asked to explain why she called back at that exact moment. That call, at 2:05 a.m. on August 14th, was the last documented communication between Nichol Kessinger and Chris Watts. Shortly after, she deleted virtually everything from her phone before surrendering it to investigators. Why
The only reason why you delete things is you don't want anybody else to see it.
does someone with nothing to hide call back the moment a police conversation begins at 2 in the morning?
Right.
Why does someone who believed Shanann simply left to cool down need to know, in real time, what an officer is asking? Those questions are in the record. They have never been answered. In 2026, Dylan Tallman, Chris Watts's former cellmate at Dodge Correctional Institution in Waupun, Wisconsin, released a book series titled The Cell Next Door.
And I do believe that that book is not in there anymore. I do believe.
Containing what he says are direct accounts of conversations he had with Watts during the 7 months they were housed next to each other. I am going to be completely transparent about how I treat this source, because that transparency is what separates this channel from noise. Dylan Tallman is a self-admitted career criminal. His book originates from the words of Chris Watts. Chris Watts is not a reliable narrator of his own life. He is a man who has, in verified prison letters reported by multiple news outlets, compared his life sentence to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, a man who has consistently distributed blame to every woman around him while framing himself as someone who was led astray. Nothing Chris Watts says is accepted here at face value. The only meaningful question when evaluating Tallman's claims is this: does what he reports align with evidence that already existed in the discovery record before his book was ever written?
Yes, no.
On several specific points, the answer is yes. Tallman writes that, on the night of August 12th, during the 111-minute phone call between
And when he said he would do a lie detector test, they're like, oh, we can't trust him. Say what?
Chris and Nichol, she issued an ultimatum. According to Tallman's account, she told Chris directly, "It is your family or me. We cannot independently confirm that conversation took place, but here is what we absolutely can confirm, using only evidence that existed before Tallman published a single word. At 10:33 a.m. on August 13th, 9 minutes after hanging up with Shanann's mother, who had just been told by Chris that Shanann went to a friend's house, Chris Watts opened Google and searched for hotels in Aspen, Colorado.
Which, in fact, that Shanann and Chris were going to go to Aspen that weekend for a couples thing, and it never happened.
9 minutes later, he called a mountain resort directly. A man who has just committed 4 murders, who has just fed a cover story to his mother-in-law, who is managing co-workers by text to keep them away from the crime scene, is searching for resort hotels in the mountains. What is the innocent explanation for that sequence? If this crime was driven purely by impulsive rage, as Chris repeatedly claimed in his early interviews, you do not search Aspen Resort hotels 9 minutes after manufacturing a story for your grieving mother-in-law. You only do that if you believe your next chapter has already been arranged. If you believe someone else is managing the rest of the details. If you are not improvising, but executing.
Which is another interesting thing. If Shanann was still technically missing and Chris went on a trip to Aspen and took Nichol, wouldn't that look a little fishy? Like, they'd be like, oh, who's this other woman? Does she know? Like, come on.
A plan. Dylan Tallman did not create that hotel search.
Nope.
It was in the discovery file. He arrived on top of suspicion that was already fully documented and fully established. And there is one more thing. Tallman recorded that reveals something essential about the man at the center of all of this. In a prison conversation about how the public perceives him, Chris Watts reportedly said, "I wish people would judge me on my whole past, instead of just that one day." That one day. The day he strangled his pregnant wife. The day he drove his daughters to a remote oil field and killed them. He refers to those acts as that one day, a single blemish against an otherwise acceptable history. That is not remorse. That is a man seeking partial credit, weighing years of ordinary fatherhood against a morning of premeditated violence and expecting the arithmetic to come out somewhere in the middle. It will not. Before we reach the final section, this case requires a moment that it consistently does not get. Chris Watts was identified within 24 hours, not because of sophisticated surveillance technology, not because of investigative procedure alone, but because of the women who loved Shanann, and who moved faster than he ever anticipated. Nichol Atkinson had been with Shanann in Arizona on that work trip. She had watched her friend navigate the quiet collapse of her marriage across the entire weekend. She had driven Shanann home from the airport at nearly 2 a.m. on the 13th and stood at the door until she was safely inside. When 9 a.m. arrived and Shanann missed her prenatal appointment, scheduled for testing on her pregnancy with Nico, Nichol did not wait. She did not send another text. She drove to the doctor's office, confirmed Shanann was a no-show, and went directly to 2825 Saratoga Trail.
And then yet people look at her as some type of person that was involved in this. Please make that make sense.
Her son looked through the garage window. He saw Shanann's car. He saw the girl's car seats still inside. Nicola Atkinson called the police, while Chris was at the oil field site managing co-workers by text. Nichol stood on that driveway and refused to move until someone with a badge arrived. She is a primary reason this case broke open in hours rather than days. Cassie, one of Shanann's closest friends, cut through every manipulation tactic Chris attempted with a single response. When he reached out and wrote, "I really don't want you to think I'm a bad person, Cassie," she replied, "Right now, Chris, I don't care about you. I don't care about your relationship or what type of person you are or are not, and I'm not trying to be rude when I say that." She had one question. Where is Shanann? Everything else was noise. And Addie, the moment she got off a phone call with Chris that afternoon, sent a single message to the friend group that stands as one of the most precise things said by anyone in the first hours of this case. The police need to look at Chris's cell phone and his computer. One phone conversation was all she needed. She had read exactly who she was dealing with and named the evidence that would break the case open. She was right. These women compressed the timeline before anyone could finish covering their tracks. Their refusal to accept the explanations being handed to them is the reason evidence existed before more of it could disappear. They have never received the credit this case owes them. Let me lay this out with precision, because this is not a list of theories. This is a documented record of what the official investigation confirmed and then did not pursue. 1. Her phone pinged a cell tower near the Watts family home at 6:16 a.m. on the morning of August the 13th, a tower her phone had never once pinged in months of prior records and never pinged again afterward. No investigator formally asked her to account for this location. No official explanation was ever produced. 2. Less than 36 hours before that ping, she had searched the Watts family home address online. That search was in the discovery record. It was never raised as a direct point of confrontation in any of her 6 interviews. 3. She requested photographic proof of Chris's presence at Servi 319, the crime scene, on the day of the murders. This is documented in discovery. In months of prior records, she had never once asked him to photograph his work.
Hold up. 2018. This isn't December, is it? No, 8/21. Okay, never mind.
Scene
I was like,
on
wait a
the
minute,
day of
Christmas?
the murders. This is documented
Around
in Discovery. In months of prior records, she had never once asked him to photograph his work location on any other day. The investigator who had this information did not follow up. 4. She spent 156 minutes on the phone with Chris on the night of the murders, calls she could not coherently account for when I was seen interviewed. She offered to come in and
That girl that we watched on that one video the other day that does the handwritten things and so forth, I want her to do these things.
manually reorganize her messages to fill those gaps. She never returned. No investigator followed up. 5. She called Chris's personal phone the moment a police call connected on his work phone at 2 in the morning while Shanann was still classified as missing. No investigator ever formally asked her to explain the timing of that.
So there's Frederick right there on the 14th. 18th is not on here.
Specific call. 6. She deleted the entire content of her phone before surrendering it to investigators. The forensic lab report,
There's the other two.
issued by Detective Michael Prill on October 30th, 2018, confirmed in writing that the technology available at the Northern Colorado Forensic Laboratory did not allow for complete data extraction from Apple devices. Hundreds, possibly thousands, of messages were never recovered. Prill made this limitation explicit in his report. He was not speculating about what might be missing. He was documenting in writing, for the record, that the investigation had an irreversible technological ceiling, and that everything sitting above that ceiling would never be seen by anyone. The report was filed, the limitation was acknowledged, and the investigation was declared complete anyway. 7.
So dumb.
During one of her interviews, she casually referenced using Skype with Chris, a platform that carries entirely
Skype, Snapchat, WhatsApp.
separate message records from a standard phone thread, requiring a separate legal request to obtain. Skype records were never requested.
Nope.
8. Chris Watts's confirmed use of Snapchat, a platform whose fundamental design auto-deletes messages, was documented inside the discovery file. Snapchat records were never subpoenaed. 9. She had searched Shanann Watts by name as early as January 2018, 5 months
Actually, September.
before she claims to have met Chris. This was confirmed as real data by DA Michael Rourke on record. It was never independently investigated because Chris Watts entered a guilty
Oh, there's another Frederick, Colorado.
plea. 10. The source of the oxycodone Chris used on Shanann, confirmed present in her system by the toxicology report, remains officially unknown. Chris has refused to name the source. He stated it is a secret he will take to his grave. No official investigation has ever answered that question.
Why not?
Those are 10 documented, confirmed, publicly verifiable gaps in an investigation that was officially declared complete. Any one of them, individually, can be rationalized. All
Sure
10
can.
together, in sequence, aligned with the timeline of a quadruple homicide, cannot. Chris Watts is 40 years old. He is inside Dodge Correctional Institution in Walpon, Wisconsin. He works as a custodian. He attends Bible study. He writes letters. He is serving 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. He will die inside that building.
If he continues to be the normal man that ages and dies, life expectancy of a male is 76. Women are usually 78 to 80 years old. So between 72 and 78 or 76, this man could live. He could live another 36 years in prison. He's already done 8.
That part of justice is secured, and it is exactly right. Nichol Kessinger changed her name. She left Colorado. She gave one interview to the Denver Post in late 2018, described herself as a victim of Chris's manipulation, and has not spoken publicly since. She was
The only time she ever spoke was on a news article. She didn't even talk, and that was it.
never charged. And here, with absolute precision, is what that means and what it does not mean. Dear Michael Rourke made a legal determination that the evidence, as it existed at that specific moment, did not meet the threshold required for prosecution. That is a legal calculation made at a specific point in time. It is not an acquittal. It is not a declaration of innocence. It is a prosecutorial decision made at a specific moment, before 10 of the documented gaps I just described were ever formally pursued. In his own interview with Investigation Discovery, Rourke described Nichol Kessinger's information as these are his words, bombshell that helped build the case against Chris. He described Chris as
More like a bomb dud.
appearing to have had every intention of starting a new life with her. That is not the language of a man who believed she had nothing to do with any of it. He said the evidence did not support charging her. He did not say she was innocent. Those are different statements, and the difference between them is exactly where the unanswered questions live.
How is she
Shanann
not?
Watts was 34 years old. She documented her life openly, her marriage, her daughters, her business, her hope, because she believed in what she was building. She was not naive. She was not blind. She knew something was deeply wrong in the weeks before August 13th. She searched.
Oh, right there. What is that? Hold on. Provide useful locations relative. Photos and more significant locations are encrypted. I wonder if they ever looked at and seen any photos or videos. Sometimes you can actually date them, or not date them, but location them so they know where those pictures were taken at. But the history that they have here is Rogan, Erie, North Glen, Platteville, and Frederick.
Blind. She knew something was deeply wrong in the weeks before August 13th. She searched for marriage counselors. She ordered a book on rebuilding relationships. She wrote.
So you see where it says Rogan, they're able to see like time frames. Can't they do that with Frederick?
Her husband a letter telling him she would fight for them. She did everything a person is supposed to do when the life they love is beginning to fracture. And none of it was enough, because the fracture was not an accident. It was a plan. Bella was 4 years old. August 13th was supposed to be her first day of school. Celeste was 3. Nico never took a single breath outside of his mother. None of them had any say in any of it. The phone records are there. The forensic reports are there. The GPS coordinates are there. The interview transcripts are there. The evidence does not become less true because it remains unacted upon. And it does not become less worth knowing. There is one final piece that belongs here. Detective Michael Prill submitted his forensic data report to the Weld County District Attorney's Office on October 30th, 2018. It was unlike anything else in the entire discovery file. For the first time, someone inside law enforcement was writing in a way that made clear they were no longer fully accepting the narrative Nichol Kessinger had constructed since August 15th. Prill documented her search history in specific detail. He flagged her deletion of critical evidence. He stated with certainty that Chris was communicating with Kessinger through channels beyond what had been examined. He noted the secret calculator application through which images were arriving entirely outside any standard text thread. Images that required a separate investigation to trace. An investigation that never happened. And he described her voicemails and her general affect across the evidence he reviewed.
Photographs were taken on 8/13/18 in the Rogan area.
Using one specific word, his word. In an
Why were they taken at 12/16, 12/16, so 45/34, and then 7/18? That one's weird. Phone 7.
Official government document. Creepy. That is the word a forensic detective used inside an official report to describe the woman law enforcement had classified as a protected cooperative witness. Now consider the standard legal process. Discovery materials travel from the DA's office to the court, to defense counsel, and then to the defendant. That process typically takes several days. By approximately November 2nd, 2018, Chris Watts very likely had Detective Prill's full report in his hands at Weld County Jail. On November 6, 2018, exactly 1 week after that report was issued, Chris Watts accepted a guilty plea. No trial. No witness testimony under oath. No Nichol Kessinger on a stand being cross-examined by a defense attorney who had read every single word of that discovery file. The case closed. Whether Chris Watts accepted that plea purely to avoid the death penalty, or whether he understood that a trial would force questions into a courtroom that certain people needed to keep out of one, is something only he can answer. But 1 week between that forensic report and that guilty plea is not a coincidence that explains itself. If you stayed with me to the end of this, thank you. I genuinely mean that. I want to ask you 2 specific questions in the comments.
Okay.
I read everything you write first. The phone ping at 6:16 a.m., placing Nichol Kessinger's device near the Watts family home on the morning of the murders.
Never verified.
Does that single piece of evidence change how you have understood
Yes.
this case? Second, the 10
That thing alone right there is what tells me that she is not innocent.
documented gaps, the Skype records never requested, the Snapchat subpoena that never happened, the Survey 319 photo request, the alibi witness she refused to name, the January 2018 search for Shanann. Do you believe the investigation was complete? Tell me where you stand. Tell me what landed hardest. Tell me what I missed. And if this video gave you something new, something assembled in one place that you had not seen before, share it. Not for numbers, because these questions deserve to reach more people than they currently have. Subscribe.
And there are people that are finding out about this case every day. It's 8 years. Just think about 8 years ago. Now we're 8 years into the future now from back then. There are people that were 10 when this happened and now we're 18, or they were 14 and now they're, do the math, 22. Just think about it. People are just finding out about it or just getting online and researching and just diving in this for the first time.
Because next week we go to part 2 of this series.
Ooh, I can't wait.
We go deeper into the deleted phone data, the specific interview moments researchers say were never properly followed up on, and what legal options, if any, exist in 2026 when the primary conviction is already secured, but the investigation around it never fully was. We are not finished with this story, not even close. For Shanann, for Bella, for Celeste, for Nico. Justice is not a moment, it is a direction, and we keep moving toward it.
Girls are still in the truck. Okay.
Did they ask you what you were doing, taking mommy out, or?
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it there because we've already heard this already. I'm not going to let you guys sit and bore you through this and with the big, huge jumbo jet engine that they have next to them while they're talking. Like you couldn't even find somewhere that was a little bit more quieter. I wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 top 12s that NK should be in prison. Phone ping, Frederick, Colorado, 616. Deleted messages. Deleted photos. Google searches that were looked at and then deleted. phone contacts to the Watts house 3 times. Do you want to know which days? No alibi. Leave Jim alone was the alibi. Sold the Forerunner. Listening on Chris Watts' phone calls at the exact same time. Skype and Snapchats were never looked at or confirmed to be used. But they said that they used Skype and Snapchat. The Oxy, unknown. Apparently, Nichol, I can't confirm. Nichol was looking up and Googling oxycodone or oxy, whatever, oxycodone or oxy. Apparently, I can't remember if there's 2, however you pronounce their names, which one it is. Those in itself are questions that were never asked and never found out. Or when she asked about the phone deleting messages, I just didn't like him anymore. She should be in jail for right now. Obstruction. Lying to police and investigators. Tampering with evidence. Tampering or hindering or hampering the investigation with evidence. She deleted it. That's tampering. I mean, the list goes on and on. So you tell me that we are completely wrong in this. If you know any more that you think of, besides the ones that I've mentioned here, let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, of course, on both channels. Definitely the Criminal Mindset, doing a fantastic job. Has a way with words. One of the better AI channels or commentary channels that are out there. Again, if I were ever to be kind of thing, you know why. Just saying. I've had how many different death threats before, and I'm not afraid of it. So with that being said, I hope you guys have a great night. Take care. God bless. Keep nerding on, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.